Hello, and welcome to our presentation, Where Do We Go From Here? Different Approaches to Digital Preservation. My name is Brenna Edwards, and I am the manager for digital archives at the Harry Ransom Center.
I'm Oscar Lewin, and I'm the digital photography archivist at the Dolph Briscoe Center for American History.
And we are both part of the University of Texas at Austin. Next slide, please. A brief presentation outline. First, we're going to go into what we did and what we mean by where do we go from here, give some background on how we got to the point we're at, and then go into some of the issues and some of the positive outcomes from the process. And looking ahead and, that question we asked in the title, where do we go from here? And some of the takeaways that we hope that you get from this presentation. Next slide, please. So to start, we're going to give some background from 2022 till now. So next slide. In 2022, the University of Texas at Austin campus did a campus-wide National Digital Stewardship Alliance Levels of Digital Preservation assessment, where the Ransom Center, the Briscoe Center, and members of UT libraries, which includes members from the Art and Architecture libraries, and also the Stark Center for Physical Education, did a levels of digital preservation assessment to figure out where we were and where we wanted to be as part of the UT Digital Preservation Group. And as you can see, the outcomes here, we decided that based on everybody's different resources and goals, that as a group, we wanted to aim for a level 1.5-ish, and started working towards that goal individually with some check-ins along the way. Next slide, please. One of the outcomes of doing that assessment is the Briscoe Center and the Ransom Center teamed up to do a joint proposal for a digital preservation solution, and went through a few different phases of research and informational interviews, both with vendors and also with peers who are using different vendors throughout the state and who also recently went through this process themselves in some cases. Writing and editing of the proposal, making sure we got everything we wanted to in there, including a really strong justification of why we needed this and why we felt now was the time. And also a lot of presentations and revisions after meetings with higher ups and um, attracting their interest in digital preservation, which we'll go more into in this next slide. What you can see from the timeline is we started this process in August 2023. And really started strong with doing the research and meeting with people and doing the informational interviews and the research. And next slide, please. And then we finished our first proposal in April 2024 and did our initial presentations to our directors and associate directors. And then it took until August 2024 to meet with the provost to discuss in general digital storage on UT campus, as this proposal really raised the awareness of digital preservation at UT, and allowed us to start thinking through ways that maybe we can work on this all together. And that's in November 2024 when the GEMS task force on digital storage began. And the GEMS are just what UT calls the collecting institutions on campus, which is the Briscoe Center, the Ransom Center, UT Libraries, and the Blanton Art Museum. And then in July 2025, we got word of not now for our Preservica proposal officially, just due to budget constraints and some of the challenges Oscar is going to talk about. So, Oscar?
Yeah, so we faced a plethora of different challenges while going through this whole process. The main, or the first one of which was staffing changes. So the Briscoe Center has had several staffing changes at integral positions in part to this process. The digital archivist had moved to Colorado. Um, and then there were changes at the higher levels of university positions. The the provost had changed 4 times in a single year span. So we had proposed our proposal to one of those provosts, and we now have a different provost. Um, Areas of improvement that we sort of identified were being a little bit more inclusive with the downstream affected staff. Um, and that means, people that would have been working with Preservica on a daily basis, like processing archivists, better understanding of pricing and storage amounts earlier on in the process. I think we got the total price um, somewhere in the middle of our whole entire proposal, and that really changed the way that we wanted to strategize and approach proposing it internally within the UT system. Um, a clear understanding of the implementation process, the time, individuals, and resources devoted for implementation. And I think that we, all in all, probably had a good idea of the amount of resources and time it would have taken. But I think we all realized that it would have taken more than just us. And this sort of goes back into the inclusivity part of it. It would have included a big institutional effort to adopt something like Preservica. And I think all in all, we both agreed that we could have been better advocates and educators about something like Preservica, and definitely clearer explanation to upper level staff, our directors and such who would be advocating for something like this on our behalf to the provost. Some of the positive outcomes um, out of this whole process is that we did create more awareness and understanding of digital preservation to our upper level staff and to just our general peers and colleagues. And that includes like sort of the workflows, the cost, and the time, and some of the main digital archiving preservation principles. Um, we got a lot of workflows out of creating the proposal in of itself. And I think both Brenna and I got a better understanding of how to conduct ourselves at the provost office and the communication involved with that. And then most importantly, like this was a huge collaborative effort between the Harry Ransom Center and the Briscoe Center, and um, definitely strengthened our our approach and collaboration between our two departments. And looking ahead, so this is where do we go from here? The Briscoe Center, after receiving our no, or not now, so to speak, we're sort of looking into new options for deep digital storage, and comparing that with costs, and also rethinking the appropriate use of that storage and how we would allocate or what types of materials we would allocate for hot storage versus deep storage. And also included with that is the appraisal and priorities of digital collections. So right now I'm going through and really trying to keep track of the size of unprocessed digital collections and get the storage costs associated with that. Um, we're still sort of holding out hope on adopting Preservic on a smaller scale, either on like a lower tier or even the free tier. Um, and then I'm really sort of trying to create a contingency plan that has a lot of flexibility, so that our digital materials may be ingested into something like Preservica or another digital preservation platform in the future. And that primarily uses Baggett or Bagger to containerize our digital materials and make it easy to put in a different place. And then, sort of the big thing that I'm working on right now is just more advocacy and training. I created a digital asset working group at the Briscoe Center, which includes a variety of folks with different levels of experience with computers and digital media. And, it has some processing staff, it has some, I like some of our, I don't want to say IT staff, but some of our systems staff. And I really am just trying to enhance overall at the Briscoe Center the understanding of digital preservation and archiving. And I'll let Brenna talk about the Harry Ransom Center.
Yeah. So, as a result, and actually during this process of writing the proposal, at the Ransom Center, we started rethinking our digital storage management in terms of what do we do with our born digital material and what do we do with our AV material, and are they treated the same or differently based upon their access needs, essentially. Our AV material actually got moved to AWS, while Born Digital material is on a like university sponsored server computing center that's about like 10 miles off campus. Um, and we also started thinking through our digital preservation management in that we have a very hard file limit on what we can upload per year. And it's caused us to rethink when we extract disk images, and are the files preserved individually, or are they like only made available on access, essentially, or are they just stored in the disk image in the digital preservation side of things. We've also been rethinking our reading room access methods in ways that we can make materials available faster and made available to potentially more than one person at a time. As right now, we only have one laptop, really. So that leads into the second main bullet point of proof of concept and use for Preservica. We have used it, the free tier in the reading room, in a few cases where we've had researchers in on the same day, and it was the only day they were going to be in, and they just really need to see this born digital material. And so we gave one patron a laptop, and we gave another access to a free version, free tier of Preservica. And in that process, discovered that the way that we package files for access is not going to cut it. If and hopefully when we do get Preservica, and got added to the list of things to think through in the next round of this proposal. And also documenting the few cases where we've been able to normalize a file using Preservica, but haven't been able to view it in any other way. Just notes to self, essentially. And we're also seeking other funding models at the moment, rather than just university, like going through the annual cycle, which comes with its own challenges of what happens when that funding runs out and how do we keep it going after that point. So things we're thinking through. Next slide, please. So in summary, here are some of the takeaways we hope you get. Training and collaboration are super important, both internal and external. Someone out there locally on your campus, throughout your state, throughout your region, they want to talk about digital preservation and why it's important. So making those connections and working with them and creating working groups and task forces to figure out goals or even like the smallest bit of digital preservation, such as documentation for this tool, really is useful. And documentation, it really helps center like why we do what we do, how we do it. And people who share your documentation online, you're fantastic. It's really useful to see what other people are doing, and rethinking how we could potentially be approaching this work. And advocacy, if you can, proof of concept, try before you buy to strengthen your case. Know what the pitfalls are going to be before you hit them. Um, and don't stop talking about digital preservation. We're only getting more and more stuff. Having upper leadership know and understand what you're doing is so important in making sure those materials are properly cared for. Next slide, please. Thank you so much, and we look forward to your questions. And if you have any questions outside of the conference, feel free to reach out to us via our emails here. Thank you.
Yeah.